Hey nerds, what's up? So recently in all of my strong female character videos, a lot of you requested that I give you some books with characters that I personally thought were complex and particularly female characters that I loved. Now I know I flashed a lot in my first video, but they were a little too fast to catch. So today I'm just gonna quickly go through some female characters I love in adult fantasy books. See you after the jump. First up, we have Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Now, if you've been around here for a while, I've talked a lot about Brandon Sanderson's female characters. I really like them. I'm not gonna talk about every Sanderson book, so I'm just gonna recommend one just for ease in this video. The reason I chose Warbreaker is that I like that it is a sister story. Two of the main characters are female that we get perspectives from, and Ciri, our primary female character, is extremely feminine, which was something a lot of you talked about wanting. She is both brave and feminine, and also shows fear, and I think is cool. Now, her sister Vivenna, I think, has one of the coolest character arcs in Sanderson's works, so I really enjoyed that, and she is also quite complex and has a very interesting journey. Next, we have The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix E. Harrow. I really love this novel, and I love the main female character and her journey, and also some of the other female characters we meet along the way. This one is about a younger girl, but it's definitely an adult fantasy, and I enjoy her character. Next up, we have Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. Now, this has three main female characters, and I love them all. I particularly love the most primary one, which is Miriam, and her story. I like the way she's presented, and I like how it is complementary to the other female characters in the story. It is a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, which is also just very interesting because that's not necessarily the fairy tale you see retold a lot. Next, we have The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I really love the female characters in this novel and how they all come together. I also feel like the representation of motherhood is very complex in this novel, and I do think it does a great job at showing grief in a way that does not become cumbersome to the story while still making sense. I really love the journey that the main characters go through in this story and highly recommend it. Next up, I have some Discworld recommendations. Now, the one that makes the most sense is Wyrd Sisters or any of the Witches arc, because they have some great female characters and it's pretty much all female characters, so I love them. I do have to say though, the female character in Guards, even though she is a side character, Lady Sybil has stolen my heart. And I love her so much. I love her representation. And so I have to just give a mention to her, even though she is kind of a side character in the story. Next is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. I know you guys are sick of me talking about this book, but that's too bad. I absolutely love Misaki. She is our main female character. Now, she is a warrior, but I think she goes through some complex feelings for a warrior that you wouldn't normally expect or see when we're talking about the SFC in Hollywood's term. I also have talked about the portrayal of motherhood and why it's so good, and it's particularly good because she has two other female friends that are a part of her story and tell the different side of things. So this book is so great if you love grim war fantasy, but also want a great female character representation. This is the book for you. Next is Earthsea number 2, The Tombs of Atuan by Ursula LeGuin. I love the second installment in the series. The first one is great too, but the second one follows a female main character and really her relationship with her faith and how that has to evolve. I think it's a very interesting character story and I really enjoyed it. Next up, we have The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. Yes, I'm gonna mention this because I'm trying to get everyone to read it. Now, I will admit the female stories really are more developed in the second novel, The Wall of Storms, so I realize this is a little bit of a commitment, but particularly the stories of Gia and Jin in the series are so complex and so interesting, and I feel like they are just so layered and nuanced, and I really love them. Now, in Wall of Storms, a lot of other female characters are introduced in that second installment that are also great and strong. Zomi is wonderful, so many great ones, but Gia and Jin in particular are very complex, and that's why I love them. They don't show up as much in The Grace of Kings, but I think it is worth it to get to them. Next, we have Circe by Madeline Miller. I absolutely love this novel, and I love the portrayal of Circe in this book. Now, there has been a lot of feminist Greek retellings recently, and I think all of them are pretty bad that I've read, unless they're Madeline Miller's. They all really miss the mark and kind of, in my opinion, do a lot of the things I talk about in the bad SFC where they're very shallow. Circe is not like that. Miller does a fantastic job of making her female characters layered and nuanced, and I really enjoyed this one. Finally, if you would like some more thoughts on motherhood, this magical realism, The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey, is just really fantastic. Very heart-wrenching. I need to warn you that is a very heavy book, but the portrayal of motherhood in this and the main character's, struggles through it, it's very interesting and very complex, and I really enjoyed this one. It was almost a contender for one of my favorite books last year, and so I like the opportunity to talk about it. Now, in my flash, I also showed Eowyn from The Lord of the Rings. Now, The Lord of the Rings is very famous, so I probably don't really need to talk about all that much. The books were also too high on my shelf and was too lazy to get them down. I absolutely love Eowyn, and of course, Galadriel and Arwen, even though she's mostly just in the appendices in the original novel. I know The Lord of the Rings is mostly a male cast, but I think the female characters in it are awesome, and I love them, so it is worth a mention. Now, I did flash some just regular fiction heroines, particularly from classics, in my video, so I just want to give them a quick mention. I did Anne Shirley from the Anne of Green Gables series. I also flashed Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, which is currently my favorite Austen. I really love it. I also did Jo March from Little Women, but if you're not familiar with Little Women, it follows the stories of 4 sisters, and I think all 4 sisters are very complex and have their own things going on, and this is just a great classic if you haven't read it, kind of showing the complexities of womanhood. I do want to put a new one in there, Anxious People. I read this last year. It was one of my top books of 2020, so I guess 2 years ago now. Really love the representation of all characters, and especially the female characters in this novel. A lot of interesting commentary, and I highly recommend it. And real quick, I also want to talk about the stuff that you guys recommended over and over and over in my comment section. They're mostly TV shows and movies, but I thought it'd be fun just to talk about them. So many of you want me to watch Arcane and Expanse. So many of you talked about oh, Arcane, their female characters are amazing, they're complex, they're amazing. Same with The Expanse. I will probably get around to watching them. I think they both have books that they're based on. I really kind of want to read those first, so it might be a while, but maybe I'll just watch them because everyone keeps saying they're amazing. So those are some recommendations for you guys. People also talked a lot about Ripley from the Alien movies and Sarah Connor from the first few Terminator movies as some of your favorite female characters in Hollywood. And of course, a lot of you brought up Ashoka from Star Wars, who is, other than Leia, one of the most famous females in Star Wars. And finally, a lot of you talked about Kristen from Station 11, which I also haven't watched, so I'm sorry. Of course, this doesn't include the many complex female characters I love from movies and TV shows or from middle grade and YA books. I really wanted to keep it to adult books for now, but I'd love you to tell me who you think I missed in the comments below. I'm always looking for more, and I hope if you're kind of interested in reading some complex female characters, one of these books strikes your interest. If you like these kind of videos, please like and subscribe, and you can check me out on Instagram at bookborn.reviews to see what I'm currently reading and other nerdy rants. I'll see you next time. Bye.